Back in February of 2024, this plant, the Monstera Devil Monster, was sold at the Bangkok Plant Show for almost $40,000. Last week, which is less than 2 years later, a Chinese tissue culture laboratory was up in my email inbox offering to sell me clones of that exact plant for $700 each, which is roughly 1/50th of the original price. If you're not familiar with the hobby of collecting rare plants, then you're probably thinking, $700 is still a lot of money for a plant lady, and you're not wrong. Plant collecting is supposed to be a slow and peaceful hobby, but during COVID, we really saw the hobby explode online. What had really been for many people a comforting and hands-on hobby quickly turned into this culture of rarity, flexing, and getting the next big plant before anyone else could. Before we get too deep into it, my name is Lore, and I make videos about plants. My credentials to speak on this topic today are that I was recently posted to r/nottheonion, and I couldn't figure out why. My real life has become indistinguishable from satire. I also have a website, plantsandjars.shop, where I sell supplies for doing plant tissue culture at home, which is the process of cloning plants. Tissue culture lets you pretty much mass produce any plant that you want to. If you're curious to learn more, I'll link a beginner tutorial below, as well as the Plants and Jars starter kit, which is the most popular item that I sell. Okay, let's get into it.
A single plant just sold for $10,000 on the Palm Street app.
I think this is going to be the hot plant for 2026. I'm only offering one. Special price for Palm Street only valid in Palm Street, $10K. $10K.
Grindification basically describes when a hobby stops being enjoyable and starts to feel like work. In the plant collecting world, I've personally seen it manifest in how plants are sold, as well as how they're talked about online and the types of posts that get rewarded with the most attention. In terms of how plants are sold, at some point people stopped buying full plants and started to buy tiny fragments of plants instead. Rather than paying thousands of dollars for large, specimen-sized, mature plants, people instead opted to pay hundreds of dollars to get tiny pieces of those plants in the hopes that they would someday grow into the plant that they wanted in the first place. Wet sticks can rot, they can dry out, and they can fail for other reasons that have nothing to do with skill. So you aren't even really buying a plant, you're buying a chance at maybe having that plant. But smaller pieces feel cheaper, they're more accessible, and they felt like a way to get into the game for many aspiring rare plant collectors. Buying lots of smaller pieces and keeping them in tiny cups also gave people this feeling of like completionism. Collectors weren't necessarily just growing plants anymore, they were trying to acquire every plant in a certain category of plants. Buying smaller fragments makes it possible to say, I have them all, even if none of the plants were actually grown out yet. It's kind of like saying you've completed the Pokédex, but you haven't evolved any of the Pokemon yet. The obsession with rare plants became particularly crazed during COVID, but this kind of foaming at the mouth behavior for rare plants is definitely still alive and well within the online plant community. Here's an example of someone looking for begonias in the Plant Purge USA Facebook group with the qualifier, the rarer, the better. Some of the plants offered to her in the comments are listed for close to $1,000, although my favorite plant that came up was this begonia Tamuyuk Blue, because I'm fairly certain it's one of my tissue culture clones. At one point, I paid an absolutely ridiculous amount of money to own one of the only specimens of this plant in the United States, and since then I've cloned it thousands and thousands of times on my YouTube channel. So if you happen to be someone who says you don't want any tissue culture clones in your collection, there's a good chance you might already have some. The final boss of grindification is turning your hobby into an income-generating side hustle. Once your hobby has started to feel like doing work anyways, the next logical step for a lot of people is, I should monetize this.
Okay, yeah, $1,700 for one singular alocasia core might sound crazy, but I look at every single one of my purchases as an investment. Let me show you why.
I made almost $10,000 in less than 24 hours selling plants.
I quit my six-figure job to spend all day with plants, and this is how it's going.
In 2019, I started importing plants from overseas, quarantining them, and then reselling them on Etsy. It was basically like drop shipping with extra steps, but it did pay for my own plant collection because I would keep plants that I ordered. and also sometimes it paid my rent in addition to that. What I didn't realize at the time was that turning my hobby into a side hustle did not make me enjoy plants more. In fact, it pretty much did the opposite. And I want to be clear that I don't think selling plants is wrong, and I don't think making money is wrong. I actually love when people who genuinely love plants turn that passion into a business, but you can definitely tell who is in it for the love of plants and who's not. The really passionate, high-quality plant sellers tend to specialize heavily. They're usually propagating the plants themselves, hybridizing them to create new plants, and also investing in the long-term health and stability of the plants that they sell. But then there are sellers who don't specialize at all. They will just sell whatever rare plant is currently trending. They're not growing the plants themselves, they're just importing them from overseas, like I used to do. And because of that, the price is totally disconnected from the quality of the plant that you're getting. If you're in the plant collecting world and you have browsed any sort of online marketplace like Etsy or eBay or Facebook, then you've probably noticed the pattern yourself. Unfortunately for plant collectors, plants don't behave like literally any other collectible good. Most plants can be propagated given enough time. One plant can become two can become 1,000. The scarcity of rare plants is almost always temporary, and therefore the prices are always going to drop eventually. Methods of propagation, like tissue culture, allow plants to be multiplied extremely quickly. This is why plant prices crash so hard and so predictably. Right now, the Monstera Devil Monster still looks rare, because prices are still high, even for tissue culture clones. But give it another year and that same Chinese tissue culture laboratory will be back in my DMs, offering me the same clones of that plant for $50 a pop. 5 months ago, another Monstera cultivar called Monstera bulbasaur was selling for thousands of dollars. Someone commented on r/rare houseplants that they were just going to wait until next summer to buy one for $50. But it turns out they don't even have to wait that long. Unfortunately, from a buyer's perspective, if you're not in the know, it might still look like a rare and valuable plant because there are still plenty of Etsy listings having this plant for sale for hundreds of dollars. Mass-producing plants with tissue culture isn't niche or underground. These pink variegated bananas used to be really expensive and difficult to import. Now Costa Farms, which is one of the largest ornamental plant producers, is mass producing them in TC and selling them at Lowe's. And yes, if you're curious, they make pink bananas, which is very cool. Modern tissue culture isn't new. It's been around for almost 100 years. Around 2020, demand was just exploding way faster than supply could keep up, but now we see that gap closing. Fewer people are buying into the rare plant hype in general. They've become familiar with patterns of plants going viral and then crashing in price, and they choose to wait instead of paying these astronomical prices. At the same time, more and more tissue culture labs have popped up all over the world, especially in China and Southeast Asia, as a direct response to this demand for rare plants. When a plant becomes popular online, there's a very good chance that it's already in TC by the time that you find out it exists. At the same time, huge companies like Costa Farms started paying more attention to online trends and focusing on mass producing what the online plant community really actually wants. If you're wondering what the future of plant collecting looks like now that the hobby is basically collapsing in on itself, I don't think it's about finding the next big rare thing before everyone else does. At the end of every year, plant influencers put out predictions for which plants they think are going to be the most popular the following year. In 2023, it was high variegation aeroids. In 2024, it was also high variegation aeroids. In 2025, it was anthuriums, especially from this one very specific guy. As we move into 2026, I think that people are starting to care less about owning lots and lots of tiny little rare plants because tissue culture has basically pulled the rug out under from scarcity as a flex. I think that the new flex is going to be growing out large specimen-sized plants over years, not cycling constantly through new plants to keep up with trends. If you're not buying a rare plant with the intent of putting it into tissue culture yourself, then my advice is to just wait. The plant will get tissue cultured and you will be able to get it for a better price a year from now. If you're only buying plants because they're rare, then tissue culture is just going to keep disappointing you. If you're buying a plant because you actually want to grow it, then you're living in the best era we have literally ever had. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video, which is ironically going to be called I Turned My Weird Hobby into a Business. Bye.